Hi there. Just wanted to say a couple of things about Module 11 in terms of assessment. Um, the first question about mathematical processes and the achievement chart. You've all handled it very well. There isn't much for me to add other than that the fact that I always remind teachers that I work with that mathematical processes are a part of our curriculum. So when we say that we're even writing a test, but creating a rich task or anything like that, and we're assessing for all the expectations, what we're assessing for should be the mathematical processes. So when we even on a traditional test, I try to convince teachers to shift a little bit. So if you're considering the specific expectations and that's what you're basing it on, where is the space for those mathematical processes to come through? And for me and my students, mathematical processes are all about flexibility. So when we say representing, it's about your flexibility and fluidity between representations. When we say reflecting, it's about your flexibility in being able to reflect on your answer based on things that you know. So flexibly applying things that you know to new mathematical concepts to check whether things are reasonable, things like that. So to me, as long as we're creating rich tasks, the mathematical processes are being assessed for, and that's good. I think that that if we try to look at math curriculum and split it process by process, it doesn't work. I think that they're all kind of embedded in there in a rich task, and y'all have handled that discussion quite well. The second part about in the moment feedback versus after the fact feedback, I want you to consider a scenario. And this is something that I started doing in my classroom just before I left the classroom to be an instructional coach. Even grade 12 university students, if they have a test, which they do sometimes, they get that mark, and that mark, all a 78 says is that you don't know 22%, and that's it. That's all it says, right? So a student gets a test back, they look at their mark, they're either excited or they're dejected, and that's it, period. There's no learning that happens. But what my students and I agreed on is the fact that I'm going to give a test or an assignment back or a rich task, anything, even after it's finished. I give it back to them with feedback only, and they have that for a week. And in that week, they can fix things. They can show me that they've learned something from the feedback, and then after that, I give them the grade. So they actually don't get a grade for a week after they've had the final product in their hands. And the reason is because I want them to internalize that feedback. I want them to think about it, and I want them to learn something from it. And we have that week to dialogue where they come and see me and they ask me where they went wrong. Some students choose to do something additional to show me their understanding. Others don't. Others are just okay with the fact that they've now learned something, and their mark's their mark. I really push that the marks aren't the be all and end all. And actually, I'm really excited. The school that I'm going back to next year, we are going to run some gradeless classes. So only marks will be given at the end of the semester. And I want to point you to a couple of resources because a few of you are really discussing things in a way that leads me to believe that you value feedback and learning more than grades. And when you do get into a school, that's going to be a difficult conversation to have with others. But I want to point you to two resources which really helped me solidify my thinking a lot in the last 2 years about descriptive feedback and even the idea of going gradeless. And it's these two resources here. So first one is Rethinking Letter Grades. This one focuses mainly on learning maps. So mapping out what the course looks like and what different levels of success and overarching learning goals looks like. And that one I think is a little bit more difficult to apply. You need a little bit more experience with the curriculum. But the other book is Hacking Assessment, 10 Ways to Go Gradeless in a Traditional Grade School. that one is really easy to apply for anybody at any level. If you're just a beginning teacher, there's solid ways to apply things that get students to want the feedback over the mark. And the other thing that I'll say is that all of this requires a sell job to the students, because we're talking about intermediate students. We're talking about grade 7 to 10 students. Even a grade 7 student has been in our school system for 7 years, kindergarten or senior kindergarten to grade 6. And they've gotten grades for 7 years, and this is how they think that learning is done. And they even think that they're motivated by grades. But research says that students are not motivated by grades. In fact, students are demotivated by grades. Students that are getting your 80s and 90s would be getting those grades regardless. And students that are achieving below that, they're actually demotivated by their mark. So a student gets a 70, they don't want, it doesn't make them want to get an 80. It makes them think, I'm a 70, like I'm this number. That's not good enough in my eyes, not good enough in my parents' eyes, anything. It's not motivating. There's tons and tons of research that says that. And students do think that they're motivated by marks, but that's just because that's what they've been taught to believe. Statistics show that that's just not the case. So I encourage you to follow what everybody's saying in the discussion and put feedback ahead of evaluation. Okay. Thank you very much, and we'll talk again on Module 12.